And we are live. Welcome to another Thursday, Tint Wisdom. Today I'm joined with our guest, Spencer Berke, social media influencer and marketing expert. Welcome, Spencer.
Thank you so much, Eric. I appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
So, thank you so much for coming today. I'm really excited to pick your brain on social media and how it relates to window film, paint protection, and so on. Before we jump into the topics, I'm going to pull up the comments. We like to do a little thing here where we give it a minute for everybody to confirm that they can hear you okay, they can hear me okay, and then we'll get started.
All right, that works for me.
Cool. So I'm going to pull up the comments now, and if you're already listening and you can hear us both, please leave a comment, let us know, and then we'll get started.
I'm excited. Yeah, I've watched a couple of these, and I'm excited to finally be here.
These are my favorite as well.
Yeah,
I like the interview especially.
Yeah, it's much more interactive. I've watched a lot of these, and it's interesting to hear people's point of view, whatever they're doing.
Yeah. So beginning of 2020, first day, second day of 2020?
Second day.
Second day. What a good way to start the year with something like this. We do have confirmation that we sound okay. So let's jump into it with telling everyone a little more about who you are, how you got involved in social media. I want to throw a few stats out there before you start. So you have been on YouTube. Your first videos were 13 years ago. So you have to take us back at least 13 years.
I think one of my first videos was a tour of my first office that I had where I would edit my pictures, because that was when I was about 15 years old, 13 actually, and I had a little room that I put my computer in and my camera, and I would show me working on like Adobe Photoshop, editing pictures, showing like the setup. And then the next 30 videos were all videos from the car dealership in San Diego that was called Symbolic Motors. So I would go there pretty much every weekend and take videos of cars, and then I would just upload it to YouTube, excuse me, and I would just basically show it on YouTube. I heard about the platform like the year that it came out, and I was like, this is pretty intriguing. So I started uploading videos of my life and just cars in general, and it just kind of was a passion of mine.
Okay, and that's actually how I first found out about you. I had just seen your videos where you started, you were posting about supercars and exotics that you had actually sold and to different celebrities. And I was blown away that, my background is in online sales, but it was online sales that for things that were $150, not $1.5 million. So, seeing that you were able to sell supercars online is super, super impressive. Can you kind of, I guess, how did you get from I'm posting videos on YouTube to I'm selling Bugattis?
So what I had done is the original passion for me was photography. So I would go to the car dealerships and take photos. I go to car shows, I go to car meets, anything related to anything Lamborghini, Ferrari, Porsche, I was super intrigued by. So I'd go to car shows all the time, and eventually I'd met one of the sales guys that worked at the dealership, and I had begged him for a job, and I was maybe 15 at the time. I was like, you have to be 18 to work here. So I kept going there every weekend. I would ditch school to go down there because the dealership was only 3 blocks from my high school. So I was there almost every day. And eventually, when I was about 18, they had a position open as a receptionist. And I'm like, I'll take it. I'll take any job here. So they brought me in as a receptionist, but they knew I was a photographer too. So after 6 months of, my trial, they ended up hiring me as their photographer. So I wasn't on their insurance plan. I couldn't drive anything. So from 18 to 21, everyone who worked there would drive me to go shoot the cars. So I did that for a while. And then that's kind of how it got started. I was a receptionist. Instagram came out. I was actually doing marketing on MySpace for them when I first started there. So I would use MySpace to market, and Blogger too, blogger.com. And that's right when, Instagram came out. I started using those platforms, and it kind of grew from that. And then I think going from the photographer to the sales part of it, I was thankfully pretty good with communication, with talking to people. So eventually my boss was like, you need to sell cars. And I'm like, I never want to sell cars. I'm not a salesman. And I got my sales license, and then I ended up posting a couple of videos that, hey, I sell cars now. And I did 5 Huracans my first month, I think, something like that. Wow. And then I did an SV after that, and a couple deals on 918 Spiders, a lot of super hyper cars. And then it grew from that.
Wow. I mean, wow. And
It was pretty special, yeah.
so, wow. I mean, okay, so let's take it from there. You were selling, supercars on YouTube to you. Then your next move was opening your own social media marketing company. Is that right? So how
Yeah.
was
So
that
what I
transition?
so I eventually what happened is once I was doing my sales on social media and built up a good following on YouTube and Instagram, I started realizing that all these people I sold cars to, people who are spending between $250,000 to $3 million, probably own a business because they make a lot of money. So I'd ask them like, hey, what do you do? One guy would own a bunch of car washes, one guy would own a bunch of restaurants, one guy would own a bunch of gas stations, and I would be like, well, what do you do for Instagram? What do you do for Facebook? And 95% of the time, they didn't do anything. They're like, oh, my cousin does it or my niece does it, and I'm like, that's not going to cut it. You need to have someone actually proactively marketing every day. So I saw the opportunity where I would do kind of one or two on the side, and I would manage our social media at nighttime after I'd work from 9 to 5. And it got to the point where I was making more money on the side than I was from my 9 to 5. So that's kind of what led me to starting my own company. I was like, well, what if I just do this full time and then have the freedom to do whatever I want all day long? And that's eventually what happened is I had enough clients to kind of go off on my own, and then it just kind of blew up from there.
Wow. So, I mean, great job. That's
Thanks.
incredible. Like from start to finish. I mean, that is super impressive, and just it shows that you were truly ahead of the curve, and you were willing to pursue something without it. You were the first, if not one of the first. You were the first. So it wasn't like you were following somebody else's footsteps, saying, "Hey, I want to sell cars online. This is what I'm going to do." You just did what you loved, did it really well, and I guess the wind took the sails to where you are.
Yeah,
So
it really did. I mean, for me, from what I saw, is that I definitely didn't go after like the money part of it, because if I went after the money part, I would have been in sales a long time ago. Because if you do, 5 to 10 Lamborghinis a month, you're making really good money. But for me, I loved photography, I loved marketing, I loved social media. There isn't a ton of money compared to selling Lambos, but there can be if you do it the right way. You can only cap out so much of being a marketer at a car dealership, but once you start your own company, the sky's the limit. So for me, excuse me, my mindset was more of like, well, what can I do to build something that's mine? I don't want to have to worry about anything else. Or, a lot of dealerships have a lot of turnover. That's one of the biggest things you see, is that the employee turnover rate is very, very high. So anyone's replaceable. So I didn't want to go in and feel like, oh, I could be replaceable one day. So I needed to create enough value where, not that they would beg me to stay, but they knew I was an asset. And that's what I wanted to be, was an asset to everybody. So I knew I could be an asset to a million dealerships, not just one. And as soon as I believed, it was like 0.01% of belief, I completely made a plan and took off. And that's kind of how I started the company.
wow. So now that you're managing other company social media, like tell us a little more about that. What does that involve? How's it going?
It's good. So when I first started, I had about 5 or 10 clients, somewhere around there. And what I realized is I went to a lot of dealerships, and a lot of dealership owners tend to not understand social media so much, typically because of the age demographic. But I realized a lot of like third-party companies, exhaust companies, paint protection film, wrap companies, vinyl companies, they're typically a little bit younger, and they are usually a 1 or 2 man show. So they don't have time for social media. And that's kind of where I came in. I was like, well, what if I approach like audio shops or any kind of aftermarket company and say, I'll do your social media for X amount of money per month, and I will post every day for you. I'll manage the hashtags. I'll get you the right clients. I'll build a database for you. And a lot of those people would be like, yes, right away, because I can bring value to them. So, I started with 5 or 10 clients, and then I got to the point where it was like, 15 to 20. And the next thing I knew, I had less freedom than I did working at my 9 to 5, working at my agency,
Sure.
because I would wake up at 7 a.m. and work till 10 p.m. And it would be the first year of my business, I worked 7 days a week. So we didn't close on the weekends. So what I realized is after about a year, I ended up hiring an employee. And then that's kind of where things took off. We went from 20 clients to 30. And now we're coming up on almost 200, maybe somewhere around there.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's been
Wow.
a journey.
Wow, 200 clients. That's incredible. And like you said, you couldn't take time off, and that's just what happens when you have a truly successful business. When you're really good at what you do, the business will pull you along with it.
Yeah, most definitely. You have to kind of ride those waves where sometimes you don't have enough clients and sometimes you have too many, and you have to figure out how to manage your time. And that's what I did, is I delegated my work of like, okay, if I hire somebody who understands Instagram and I can teach them how to write captions and I can teach them, about something that I understand and they're already into cars, then I can assign that person a bunch of window tint shops or PPF shops. If one guy's more passionate about restaurants, I can give him all the restaurant clients. So I assign my clients based on what my team knows, and then they're able to really focus in on a certain industry. And I think that's why we have such a big success with our clients, is that we're car people. We love cars. So it can be anything from the racetrack all the way up to off-road cars, all the way to just modification. So for us, it's easy. It's not that hard. We just have to we have to help companies understand, we can package a deal for you where we're going to help you with your social media and we're going to get your business in front of the right people.
And I think that's it sounds like a super important and key part of your success is that, like you said, you're not in this for the money necessarily. You're in this first and foremost because you're car people and because you're social media people. You're people that are active in your own personal life on social media. One of the interesting things that I always try to point out is, I find is, if you can be overwhelmed with options of people saying that they can get you new business and they can manage your online presence and your social media. However, if you just ask one simple question, it's pretty easy to figure out who knows what they're doing and who knows what they're not, like who doesn't know what they're doing. And simply ask to see their own social media profiles. It's super simple. Somebody who's saying they can grow your social media should have a good looking social media, right? Mm-hmm. And not just good looking as in like professional, professionally shot pictures, but actual engagement, actual comments, history and so on. Like you should be, if you are good at social media, you have to be a practicer of it. And you are. We mentioned at the beginning of this, your first YouTube videos go back to 2012 and you have over 800 videos, over 20,000 Instagram posts.
Yeah.
20,000, over 20,000. So
yeah, there's a couple there.
Obviously, posting a lot and posting consistently is important because that has to be a part of why you have over 150,000 followers on Instagram. Can you tell us a little more as far as, as a company using your services, just on average, an average window tint company or paint protection company, they're using your services. What do they expect? What are some of the key components to what you provide them and what you deliver?
Yeah, so one of the things that we started off with, the problem that we had that we kind of got over, is that so many people would come to us and say they wanted to have 1 million followers. And the first thing I have to teach everybody, it's my responsibility as a business owner, is education, that you could have 1 million people following you. Like I could go buy you 1 million followers from China tonight. No problem. I can get you 1 million followers. But who's going to actually convert? That's the biggest thing. So we've had clients for, coming up on 3 years straight that we posted for every single day, and they only have 5,000 followers, but they get 10 to 15 direct messages per day of people who want their services, who want to buy their product, who get actual click-throughs to the link in their bio. So that kind of speaks for itself, is that it's not so much about, look at me, look how many followers I have. It's more of, how can we get your business in front of the right people? So to give you an example, like we have a stereo shop that's in Laguna Hills in California, and we're not going to advertise to people in New York. We're not going to advertise to people in Miami. We're going to advertise within Orange County, California. So we're going to find certain car communities, certain people, certain demographic that we would get in front of, where we would like and comment on their photos. We would share stuff. We would go into certain Facebook groups. I mean, there's so much that we can do to engage, where your following count doesn't really matter. It's good to have a community. We'll still build a community for you, but we're going to get in front of those people who actually need window tint, those people who don't know the difference about ceramic window tint versus normal crystalline, anything like that. We're the ones who's going to help get that in front of the right people.
Makes sense, because ultimately it doesn't matter how many followers you have. Like you said, if you could have 20 new customers a day and you only had 100 followers, wouldn't that be amazing? Like, who cares?
Oh yeah, 100%.
You know what I mean? Like,
it's hard for people to understand that, where they want to have the ego part of it, and I try to get rid of that. Like, that's one of the first things I say. The first email is that we don't focus on followers, we focus on conversion. That's one of the biggest things. So if your followers don't go up, it's okay, but if you're getting calls and messages and people walking in saying, hey, I saw you on Instagram or I saw you on Facebook, that's how people justify paying me to do that.
Sure, that makes sense. And how much, just approximately, would one expect to need to budget for a service like this?
So typically I always let clients know right off the bat that we start at $500 per month, which is like the most basic package that we do. But that brings you posting every single day, writing the captions, doing the hashtags. We help set up like a Dropbox folder where they can put all their photos in it. So if they have like a backlog of photos of projects of stuff they've worked on, or they can upload daily or weekly. So we just typically give like instructions to one of our clients, like, hey, this is how you take a photo of a car, throw it in Dropbox, and then we'll take care of the rest for you.
Got it. So okay, so you're posting every single day. The cost at a $500 budget is, if my math is maybe close to correct, maybe about $12 a day or so. Mm-hmm. Okay, so $12 a day is $12 is usually about an hour that somebody would pay somebody. So as far as a value of time, it's about an hour's worth of work in their mind for that $12. And a tinter's hour, just to put it in perspective, if they can tint a car in an hour, you can make an extra $100 to $200 an hour. Okay, so for $12 an hour, you could potentially bring yourself in another 100, 2, 3, 4, 500. I mean, it's kind of limitless. What I'm trying to say here is, I always say try to value your time, put a value on your time. And for a window tinter to be posting on social media, if they're not good at social media, I'm trying to paint the picture of what it actually could cost them to have somebody else do it. And that is only about $12 to have a post every day. And then on top of that, you're telling them how to take better pictures and how to improve their posts. And then you're writing all the content.
Yeah, so we take care of everything. So what we've learned is how to be efficient. So we'll spend typically an hour to an hour and a half per day on someone's account where we're actually engaging with their audience, posting to their social media, and really we're hands-on. We're not doing it like all day long, but we do it for a section of the day, because what I realized is I would go to the top Mercedes dealership in California, and you would try to pitch them this whole thing, and it was like, oh, they need someone full-time in-house. Or if you go to another big company, they want somebody to be a whole marketing campaign, completely organized for the whole year. And I'm like, well, why don't I just go to the guys who own businesses that are smaller, that don't know how to do the social media, and be able to make it affordable for them? And then they see the value in it, where I do have another service where it's $1,000 a month, where we can provide a photographer to come to you a couple times per month and take photos. So since my background is photography, I have over 2,000 photographers in my database that are all over the USA. Wow. And those people we can contract to go to you to take photos of any car. Like if you're doing a Bugatti Veyron next week or a GT3 RS or whatever, you let me know and I'll schedule my guy to come to you. So we make it where it's easy for these guys to be like, I can budget out $1,000 a month to bring in an extra $50,000 a year just from Instagram leads. And a lot of people don't understand the value of it until they start to really think it out. Like, okay, this actually makes sense, because we're getting in front of people every single day. And window tint owners and any kind of business owner, they don't have time to understand the Instagram algorithm. I know it like the back of my hand. I know how this stuff works. So a lot of people just hand everything off to us. We take care of it. We bring in leads. And then next thing you know, people are like, holy crap, why didn't we do this earlier?
Yeah. I mean, I think people underestimate what it really takes to be successful on social media. It is not about mindlessly just posting a picture whenever you have a few minutes. There is strategy and experience that goes into it. And you can't think that's, somebody can do this as a side job while they're also doing other jobs at a business. Now, I understand why a business couldn't afford to hire somebody full time to necessarily do this, not off the bat. So you're telling me for $500 a month, this can be completely handled for you, or for $1,000 a month, you're going to have a photographer coming out and taking the pictures. I mean, I hope everybody can see the reason I wanted to have Spencer on, and I'm so appreciative of him coming on is because I know this is such a big value. This is just, you're not getting hit with we're not talking about a company that is going to take you on as a client, then outsource your work out of the country to somebody who's not fluent in English and just wants to get it done. You're not talking about somebody who's running your accounts through a software and having a bot put your company at risk. You're having your in-house people do it, and you are rather in Laguna Hills, California, and now in Fort Lauderdale, Florida as well.
Yeah, so we're in Irvine. So we're based out of Orange County, California, and then we just opened up Fort Lauderdale today.
So located in California, located in Florida, and then you service shops throughout the entire country.
Yeah, well, we're globally now. So we've done a lot in Canada, we've done a lot in Mexico, and then we have some plans for London, hopefully later this year.
Oh, well, that's pretty freaking awesome. So I still have more questions for you, but we have some questions in the comments. So I want to jump in, ask some of those. I want to ask some of the comments, or ask some of the questions in the comments. So if you have a question for Spencer and you're watching this live, you can definitely leave a comment. I'll ask the question. And then also, if you're watching this afterwards, you can also still leave a comment and we'll still answer the question after. So jumping into some of these questions, let's see. So Chris said, Spencer, I feel smarter just from listening to your game plan. Great value to grow from a professional. That's Chris Queen. He's out of Illinois. He'll actually be joining us next Thursday. He has a shop, a very successful shop there, so he'll be joining. So thank you, Chris, for watching.
Thank you.
Chamal Jose, he said, what's up with the hoodies, man? Are you going to hook up with one of those? I have no idea which hoodies you're talking about, Chamal. I don't know if they're Spencer's hoodies or maybe you just like my hoodie. But just let me know what you're talking about and we'll hook it up or figure it out. Betsy asked, Spencer, and what's in your opinion, what are some things you need to run a successful business? And then she also commented, and any tips to grow an Instagram account?
Yeah, so I think a successful business, I think, is the main thing I look at is communication. That's like the biggest key point for me is that with my company, we're not a huge agency. We're a team of 4 to 8 people that are hands-on every day. So every one of my team members are in touch with each of their clients on a daily basis, whether it's texting or email. And that could be between approving posts on how we write anything, approving pictures, approving videos. If they have an event coming up, they let us know a couple days before so we can actually make a graphic for it. So we're in communication with every day we're in communication with different people to make sure that they're satisfied with what we're doing. Like I said, whether it's a text or an email. So communication is like the biggest thing. And not just that, but also with your employees too. I always make sure that my team is happy and they're comfortable with what they're doing, and that if they don't feel comfortable with the client, that we don't assign the client to them. So if it's only a car person, they'll only get car clients. If only restaurant, they only get restaurants. So that's kind of how I've structured everything I do as far as like the biggest key point. And as far as growing an Instagram account, I think just being proactive. The thing is that you can go out, you can post a bunch of pictures, you can post a bunch of videos, but no one's going to come to you. You need to go to other people. So I would make a plan of, let's say that you're in the car industry, you're a tint shop, and you want to get new clients to come in to get their windows tinted. You need to find within 60 miles all the major cities, and you need to find all the car clubs, the Mustang Car Club, the Infiniti Car Club, the Porsche Car Club, BMW, and you need to go put out 50 comments every day, whether that's asking a person what color their car is, what suspension they have, asking them if they ever need window tint, they give us a DM, anything like that. So you need to put yourself in front of those people instead of waiting for people to come to you, because you can post pictures for a whole year and no one's going to come to you. You can't just rely on hashtags and just hoping that people see you. If you're out there commenting every day, let's say you do 50 comments a day, all you need is one person to come in for a $1,000 tint job or a $500 tint job, whatever it is, and you make your money back on your time.
Exactly. Yep. Wow. So more questions.
Sure.
Chima Jose said he was talking about some hoodies that Justin Cook was wearing. So he's talking about a social media post. It was on the Tinstitute's Instagram, and it was some hoodies that the Tinstitute actually made for Tint Wiz. I'm going to be talking to Austin and the team over there about making more of those hoodies. He did that, and thank you, Austin. They were freaking awesome. So I will talk to Austin about making more of those and getting them out. Andrew Bully in the comments asked you, Spencer, if you could elaborate on hashtags. I have never searched anything based off of hashtags, nor have I ever seen anything relevant to me based off hashtags. So what's your thoughts on hashtags?
So what I do is you can follow people on Instagram and their pictures show up in your feed. You can also search hashtags and follow hashtags that show up in your feed. So what I did is I just moved to Fort Lauderdale, Florida, and I followed that hashtag Fort Lauderdale. So when I'm scrolling through my feed and I see, a Tint Wiz post and I see whatever a friend's post, a car, then I see the latest post with the hashtag Fort Lauderdale. It could be a car, it could be a restaurant, it could be anything. So you can follow hashtags that are relevant to what your business is. Going back to the car thing, you could follow hashtag, Orlando Beamer Club. You could follow hashtag New York Porsche Club, wherever you're located, and that's going to show up in your feed. So that's where you can leave a like and a comment, or you can use that to find more customers through that. On the other hand of it, you want to use those in your own posts so your picture shows up in others people in their feed. So if someone's following hashtag Mustang or hashtag Lamborghini and you use that hashtag on your post, it could show up for them too. And then they see it, and next thing you know, they start following you because of that hashtag.
So everybody take note of what Spencer just said, because it's super valuable and on point. When you mention stuff like Orlando Beamer Club and these longer hashtags, these are hashtags that people look at, people follow, people actually pay a lot of attention to because they're very specific and niche. And, that I think plays into hashtags. You see people post things like, they'll post like a picture of a nice car with window film and they'll say like hashtag fabulous, hashtag, beat the heat and what. Those aren't hashtags people actually search, and people don't necessarily like, if you search fabulous, you're going to see so many things that you're just looking at junk. Like you're not really searching that. But if you're looking at something specific to your geographic area or an interest of yours, then you are paying attention to it. So Andrew, I think what's also important to note in your comment is Andrew had said, I have never searched anything based off hashtags, nor have I ever seen anything relevant to me based off hashtags. And there you are saying that you just moved to a new town, Spencer, and you search based off hashtags. So the key here is you can't necessarily just look at what you do, because if you're not deeply involved in that arena, if you can't base what other people are doing based off what you're doing because you don't know what they're doing. Right?
100%. And I mean, to give you another example, just to get into detail, hopefully this helps people. When I was selling Lamborghinis, I would also do anything related to luxury boats, anything related to luxury watches, anything related to Nordstrom's in San Diego, anything related to luxury goods, because even like horseback riding, I got clients through that because that's kind of like a higher end thing. And that is where my demographic was. So for me, I would just figure out, okay, what client am I managing? Where are they located? And what kind of client is going to purchase from them? So that's kind of how I dial in that hashtag use, or how I dial in that demographic, is figuring out who's going to buy a product or service from that business.
Right. So you see, like people that are searching for window tint might search window tint hashtag, but if there's obviously a lot of noise in the window tint hashtag. So if you can get, like Spencer saying, get in front of hashtags that people are interested in that are not window film related, that's a backdoor. And that's why it's important to have somebody that's calculating and researching and, passionate about this sort of thing, because that's the only way you get results like that, because that's creative and thinking outside the box and 100% on point. I mean, going after people who ride horses when you're looking for affluent buyers, like that is on point.
Yeah, and that worked really well. I mean, you just got, like you said, think outside of the box. That's the best way to do it.
So I'm curious just, you must approach companies, or maybe they approach you. They say, hey, Spencer, what are your services? Or you tell them your services, and, they go, why am I going to do that? Why is this going to bring me more business? I don't think it is, and so on. And then, they're saying this to somebody who sold Bugattis through YouTube. Like, how does that go? Or like, what would you say to somebody, if a window tinter's looking at the screen right now, watching us and saying, this all sounds great, but this is another marketer who wants to take my money, and am I really going to see a return on this? What do you say to somebody like that?
That's the thing, is that I've noticed the past maybe 6 to 8 months, all the potential clients I talked to the first year of my business are now coming back to me, because they've gone through 4 or 5 other marketing companies, and they realize that everyone else is not into cars. They don't understand the industry. It's not a one-on-one experience, and all those things you get with my company. So to answer your question, I think a lot of my clients, I'd say 95%, are people who come to me. I'm in a very fortunate position where I've had to do no marketing. I've done 0, and I just have clients come to me, which is what I look at as the most value that I have. Is that I get a couple million views on my Instagram every 4 or 5 days. I get a couple million hits on my YouTube channel every month. And if I can just sneak in a couple little things here and there that I'm like, hey, here's my website, I need help with socialmedia.com. There's always someone who has a business that needs help with it. So I have done cold calls. I have done sales pitches before to people who have no idea who I am. And typically, 50% of the time, they're good to give it a shot. I do a 3 to 6 month trial and they end up staying with me. The other half of the time, they're just not willing to believe in social media. And it's not me, and it might be me, I don't know, but it's usually people that are like, why would I pay someone to post on a picture on Instagram? And I try to educate them, and they simply just don't, it doesn't get through to them. So it's just a hard battle right now with timing. I think the next 5 years, what I do is going to become normal and people will understand it. But 5 years ago, when I was doing this, it was like mind blowing to people that you could get paid to post on Instagram. And I'm like, well, the main thing I look at when I do a cold sales pitch is, where's the attention? The attention is on smartphones. Okay, what apps are there? Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter. Okay, I'm going to make a business around that. And that's what I did.
So Ben Hinson asked, so how do I get my social media account to come up first when someone Googles my business? So Ben's asking how to get his social media account to come up first when someone Googles his business. So I assume somebody's Googling the name of your business, Ben, and you want your Facebook page to show up on Google as the first result, or if you could clarify that a little bit. Just because, unless you understand where he's coming from with that?
Yeah. So I think what you can look at is like if you search for a business and their website shows up first, then their Facebook, then their Instagram, then their Twitter, then their YouTube. I think that is really uniform, but sometimes there'll be a break in between where it's like 10 other companies. Oh, okay. So the main thing I would think of is one thing I do too is I do SEO marketing. So I guess you'd implement the same thing. It's all keywords.
So he did follow up and said, or say somebody searches like window tint near me, how can he be first listed? So whether that be a social media's website, I guess, how can he come up? And that's what you just said that's SEO, right?
Yeah, for Google, that would be SEO. And that's where we would implement on the back end of a website of using certain keywords and certain backlinks that would, help target people that are local to you. So if someone does search window tint near me, we have more keywords showing up on the back end of your website, and you're more bound to come up on the first page, because realistically, no one goes past the first page on Google. So that's kind of how we implement that too. But I think with your social media, just using more of your local demographic hashtags and talking more about where you're located.
Sure. So like the content that you're posting on the social media page will probably have a lot of play a factor in if the page is coming up, because if it's relevant to what they're searching and it shows up on your social media page, it's going to come up. And for anybody who's not familiar with the term SEO by now, it is search engine optimization. And the idea is optimizing a page through a variety of different, tactics and strategies to, get that page to show up higher on the results of wherever you're optimizing for, typically Google, right? Mm-hmm. So Betsy asked if you could explain what backlinks are.
Yeah, so backlinks are, if you go to a certain website and you click on maybe about us, or you click on the most popular thing would be a blog section of your website, where you have certain keywords of the same thing over and over and over and over again. So like, let's say that you do mostly Porsche and you're in San Diego. We would help with the back end of the website where you'd create more and more and more and more and more links that would go to a blog page or a certain page in general that would have that keyword, not copy and paste it over and over again, but repetitively talking about that subject.
Sure.
The more that you have that subject on your website, like let's say you have a 4-page website, you're not going to show up that often. But if you have a 100-page website with 50 pages of blogs, you're probably going to show up much higher than everybody else because someone's searching San Diego Porsche. You may show up more than anybody else because you have more history on your website. So that's kind of the back end of a website, why we create backlinks and keywords to really optimize. And that keyword there is optimization of when people search for something, they find you first.
Got it. So, using the content on your website, building out the content on your website to establish relevancy to the topic. And then, it also helps if other sites are linking back to your website because that also helps establish relevancy as well. So yeah, that's backlinks. Thank you, Spencer.
Sure.
So Andrew asked if you should use hashtags on blogs too, on blog posts.
If your platform allows it, yes. For us, we use hashtags on every platform. LinkedIn compared to Instagram is much different, but they still work. So if you actually go to LinkedIn and you look at a post and it says, hashtag San Francisco, and you click it, it's going to show everything in San Francisco. If you go to Twitter, same thing. If you go to Instagram, same thing. If you go to a website, it may not work. You may just put a hashtag and it shows whatever, and it's not clickable. So if your website is able to do that, yes. If it's not, then I don't think you need to, because I don't think if anything, no one's going to go search on Google a hashtag. They would only go on social media platforms to search a hashtag.
Got it. That makes sense. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I mean, hashtags on websites, the way to think about hashtags, I think, or the way I think about them is they're a way to sort things. You're just sorting pictures. You're just literally tagging a picture and saying, this is what the picture is. So on social media, where you have a lot of people potentially searching those hashtags, saying what the picture is to be included there will get you some organic views. On your website, you're sorting pictures on your website. Somebody needs to actually be searching those hashtags on your website to make use of that hashtag on your website. So like you said, yeah, not necessarily, it comes down to organization, Andrew. The same goes for categories on your website. While it can be attractive to put hashtags on there, thinking the more hashtags, the better, because it's somehow going to bring you more business. It really is just an integral structure of a website when you have a lot of content, a way to lay it out, a way for people to search, a way for you to separate your content. So that's that. So while we get some more questions in the comments, I wanted to ask you, you've obviously dealt with a bazillion social media accounts. In the window film, PPF, automotive space, what are 2 things that you see people most commonly doing wrong?
Off the bat, I think lack of content. I think a lot of people are missing opportunity when you have the ability to take an amazing picture in your pocket with an iPhone. I was a photographer for 7 years professionally, and I don't even own a photography camera anymore. I only have video cameras because my iPhone replaced all my cameras. So all my professional photos now are taken on an iPhone. Whether it's for one of my clients or it's for myself for my own social media. Now, when you get these business owners that I deal with and they get amazing cars coming through the shop, they have insanely skilled installers, they have loyal customers, and they're not doing content creation, whether that's a picture of the car getting the window tint installed, you're not getting a picture of the car afterwards, you're not taking a picture of the car in front of your business every day. I mean, if you're getting 5 to 10 cars running through your shop every day, you can make content for a whole week in the span of that 8-hour day. So I think the biggest thing I see right now is lack of understanding the urgency and the importance on making content. That's the biggest thing I see right now. And I think the second thing is not doing social media. I've gone on Instagram and looked up just detail. I've looked up paint protection film. I've looked up everything you can imagine. And I've looked at the worst shops I could find with 0 followers. But then I look at their website and they're still in business. And I go, well, how come you're not using social media? Then I go look at Twitter. I go look at LinkedIn. I look at YouTube, and I find their name of their business and they're not doing anything. So I start to look at it like, that's good for me because I can reach out to them and do business with them. But at the same time, I'm already getting clients from people that already have operating social media. They just don't have time to do it anymore. So it just makes me mad that Instagram is free, Facebook is free, all these platforms, you don't have to pay anything for it. If you can post on it and utilize it the right way, you could easily have a window tint business making $1 million a year, no problem, if you know how to utilize those platforms properly. So I think the lack of content and the lack of actually using social media are the two biggest things I see in general. And that's not just for the window tint business, that's for everybody.
And how much content is too much? Is there such a thing? How often if somebody's sitting there saying, hey, Spencer, I have all day, I have plenty of time. How many times should I post? I feel like maybe I'm going to annoy people or whatnot. What would you say people should be aiming for a day?
I think 1 to 2 times per day on your actual feed, and then a couple times on your stories per day, where your feed is curated to being the really good final shots, maybe really good pictures of behind the scenes, but making your feed like the main focal point. What I look at Instagram as for businesses is a catalog. What is someone going to think when they go click on your name? Okay, how are we going to get this person to understand what you sell in the first 5 seconds? Because attention spans are really quick on social media. Like for me, right, if you don't get me hooked in the first 3 seconds, I'm gone. So for us, when we market for companies, we want to make sure that, a past experience we had with multiple people is that window tint shop owners typically do this. I don't know why, but they like to post pictures of their family and their kids, and then they'll post a picture of a car they just completed. And for us, there has to be a separation between business and personal. So that's one thing that we've seen before, is that there has to be a separation. And it's not just in the window tint industry, it's everywhere, but definitely window tint. See it.
That's a good one. Everybody should, before you vent online, before you post, even if Spencer, you mentioned posting pictures of your kids, but like, what about people vent online? They talk about their exes, and like, there's no room for that. Even if you're not doing it on your even if you're doing it on your personal page and not your business page, but you're always pushing out your business page, I feel like it's just a terrible idea. Like
and it could be anything. Like for us, I won't do anything. Unfortunately, they're both big industries, but I won't do anything involving politics or guns. I can't do it because it's just such a sensitive subject, especially, being from California, it's very tough to do business like that there. So I'm very cautious with who I work with, but that's why I stick to PPF and window tint. Relatively safe.
So you mentioned some platforms. You mentioned Instagram. You mentioned Facebook. You mentioned Twitter. I'm just curious, what are the top platforms you think are important? Obviously, there's TikTok now. That's the big buzz. And should window tinters be on TikTok? Where do they need to be?
I think that everybody should be everywhere, because there's so much attention on each platform. You never know who likes Twitter more than Instagram. You never know who likes LinkedIn more than Facebook. You just never know who's going to be looking. So for my business, we always make sure that we're going to post out to those main 4 platforms: Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn. The YouTube thing is a little bit different. It's much more involved, and I think from past experience, but filming and editing is a whole different ballgame. Like that takes a lot of time, but you can still do it. And then TikTok is so new that I don't really know yet. I don't really have a say yet on it. I'm still studying it. I signed up and got 20,000 followers my first week, which was super surprising, but it's because I have a following. I've seen actually a couple of detail shops go on there and show some cool behind the scenes footage of them like cleaning carpet or doing like a windshield tint or something like that. But I think you have to be a little bit more savvy to understand TikTok, and I'm still a little bit new to it. But I think that's one thing too, is that we just signed our first TikTok client in December, where we're managing their TikTok for them, and we're learning a lot about it. So I'm hoping in the next 2 months we can officially offer that as a service to anybody. We're just still figuring out, is this the right time?
Okay, cool. Yeah, I know TikTok. I've seen some videos that people posted, window tint wrap related videos. over 1 million views on TikTok. So definitely, like, I think it seems like it's getting there. I'm curious to see if we can follow up in a few months and get your thoughts on it, because, still in its infancy, but who knows?
Yeah, and the one thing I have to keep in mind too is that views don't mean business. They don't pay the bills. So
Right.
it's good to be in it early, because maybe 4 years from now, TikTok becomes the new Instagram, and there's millions of people on there, but they're qualified people. I saw like Will Smith signed up for TikTok the other day, and then you get some big celebrities, and you're getting this older demographic coming in. Before, it was just 15-year-old people just dancing to music. Now
Right.
there's legit people on there that have businesses or celebrities, and in 2 years from now, maybe that's where all the attention is. So it's in its very early stages, and I'm pretty curious to see where it goes.
You know who's not on TikTok is any government issued phone, because they banned TikTok from all government issued phones because because it is Chinese owned, and there's that security threat there to have it installed on a phone that's government issued, where there could be sensitive data. So as you're marketing your window tint company, just know that the Chinese are potentially watching. And a few years ago, it was the Russians watching. Now it's the Chinese, and it's.
People always ask me, like, if I ever feel like worried about how much I put out there, because I put my whole life out there on social media every day. I go to car shows, and people know that I was at a taco stand last night. Like, people know what I had for dinner last night, and it may sound weird, but I'm used to it. I'm like, that's just how my life is. That's what I chose to do now. And I think that's what's a part of my success, is just saying, you know what, like, everyone's watching anyways. Why not just go out there and share it with the world? So I think there's a happy medium with how you do that with business, and like talking about sensitive subjects. You have to be careful with what you talk about, not just on your business page, but your personal page too. And I think there's a lot of people that like to share how they feel, and sometimes it's not too good for their business too.
I can imagine. So, and it's almost like you being so public on social media, one would think that somebody who shares so much on social media must be an extrovert. However, there's almost like another side to that thought, because as an introvert, if you were to share yourself on social media, you kind of change the game to where you can still be an introvert, because people will then approach you and people are reaching out to you. So you're kind of changing the dynamic of, instead of having to have that extroverted personality to go out and reach out to people, you're able to rely on people coming to you, which is much more comfortable as an introvert as well. I'm not saying you are an introvert or extrovert, but it seems like there's that dynamic.
For me, like, I definitely am the person who, prefers to keep my life a little bit more personal. But when it comes to social media, it's a completely different game. Like, I'm out there every single day. I mean, you see my stories on my Instagram and Facebook. Like, I'm posting every 30 minutes to an hour every day. I mean, that's why I have 20,000 posts. I've posted every day for, 8 years. And
that's not your only account. That's the thing. That's your personal account. You also have your business account. You have other personal accounts you run. So it's not even like 20,000 or 25,000 posts. It's tens of thousands more than that.
I mean, to give you an idea, I've kind of calculated it, and I put out about 60 to 100 pieces of content per day. And it sounds kind of crazy, but I can use that same clip I posted on Instagram to share to LinkedIn, to Twitter, to Snapchat, to all my other platforms, where I'm not necessarily creating a piece of content, I'm just distributing it.
That makes sense. Mm-hmm. More for your effort. So couple questions that came in reverse order. Andrew asked, will you link his company before the stream is over? I'll drop a link in here as soon as this is done. But anybody who wants to get in touch with you, we'll go over this at the end, but let's go over it now too. Your company is Berke Marketing. Your website's?
I need help with socialmedia.com.
So I need help with socialmedia.com. Your name is Spencer Berke, Berke. You can find that on every social media platform pretty much, right? So, and then we'll link it in the comments as well in this video as soon as we are done. And Ben asked, how do you feel about Boost My Posts? Is it worth it?
No. How I look at it is a whole different ballgame. So when you look at boosted promotions, the Instagram app itself is set up to only get impressions, which impressions only mean likes. They get a couple more people to like your photo. When you actually run it through a desktop version on Facebook, because Facebook owns Instagram, you can choose what happens when someone sees your post. Do you want them to go to your website? Do you want them to send you a message? Do you want them to call you? Do you want them to see your profile? You can choose on Facebook what you want that person seeing your picture to do. On Instagram, when you press boost post, it's only likes. That's all it is. It's not going to do anything else besides get people to like your picture. And going back to the beginning, likes don't convert into, most of the time into a buying customer. If you're going to spend, $50 on boosting a post. I know I've boosted a post for $10,000, but I've only done it through Facebook where it's targeted to the right people. It has the right picture, a really well written, caption. So to answer your question, I would say I would stay away from boosting it from your actual phone and either learn how to do it through Facebook or hire an agency to do it for you.
Yeah, I think that's great advice. For our own promotions, if you've seen some of Tint Wiz's sponsored posts throughout Facebook and so on, like the reason we do it is because ultimately it's important to us that we want everybody who follows us on Facebook, everybody who follows us on Instagram and so on to actually see what we post. Because if not, we have about 1,300 people following us on Facebook. We could make a post and only 50 or 100 or 200 of those people see it. Being able to use the advertising platform on Facebook allows us to make sure that you're able to see it. Now, with that said, Instagram, like Spencer just said, is not as targeted. They do let you pick based off of interest, but you're basically going the broad way, which is a good way to blow a lot of money. It's a good way to get a lot of useless likes, a lot of spam comments, and so on. So even if you want to advertise on Instagram, you want to do it through your Facebook ad platform instead of doing it through Instagram. You want to do everything on Facebook. So Andrew, you definitely want to, I think I suggest, and I think Spencer, you suggest you for the right posts, when you're doing it the right way, there is value in it, but it's not as easy as just clicking boost and sending your money off into the wind.
Yeah. You want to look at it as, if you're going to spend money, how are you going to get the most out of every penny? Because I spent thousands of dollars on boosting posts when there's no return, but I can spend $85 on one post and make $1,000 back if I did it the right way the first time. So I think I had to learn the hard way, but now with anyone who asks that question, I always say just learn Facebook Ad Manager. I jumped into it, I would say 3 years ago, and it was very, very intimidating, but I watched a couple hours of YouTube videos on it and I took a course on it. And the next day I knew how to run ads completely. I just felt much more comfortable learning it. But now that I know it, I think that you really want to utilize every penny, because even from anybody out there who has a business, that every penny counts. So if you're going to spend $100 on an ad, make sure it's done properly.
Right. And that involves testing it. And you could spend $10 and see if it works. And then you could spend $100. You don't have to spend $100. Don't have to jump in too quick. Andrew asked, do you own a Lambo yet?
So 3.5 years ago, I had an opportunity to buy one and I went to go look at it, and I worked at a Lamborghini dealership, and I could get one wholesale, and I found the perfect car. But I decided to actually invest in my business, and I quit my job that same month that I was going to buy the car. So I put all that money towards basically everything I needed for the company, which was, multiple devices and having the ability to travel, because I had to go travel to meet clients, and having the money to operate my YouTube channel, which was paying for my BMW that I had at the time. So I took that money and actually invested in my company. And then I've had a couple opportunities to buy one, and for some reason, I just don't want one right now. I'm very happy with the BMW that I have. But I'd rather build a business so I can go back and buy the dealership, not the car.
Love that. And, everybody should be comfortable with the idea that your business not your business, Spencer, everybody's business kicks off some money, right? That's what it does. It produces money. Some sort of input goes in, you work your butt off, you sell something, you do a service, and at the end, you get money. And the idea is that money, what everybody should get comfortable with is the idea that you should be able to use some of that money to make more money. So if you put that money back into your business in a variety of ways, your business will then create even more money, and so on. So that whole concept of the money that comes out of the business isn't just yours in your pocket and then you're scared to spend $1. That money can be deployed to your business. And instead of buying a Lambo now, like you just said, you'll be buying the dealership in no time.
Yeah, that's a plan. I mean, I think, and that's a hard part too, is being an influencer, is that I want to flex on Instagram and be like, look at the Lambo that I got. But I get more satisfaction knowing that I have almost 8 employees now. That's just, I don't have to flex that. Just knowing the fact that I have a team of people that are passionate, that are happy. And I mean, dude, to be honest, I supply those people with a living, and it's cool to see what they do. So that's more rewarding than having a Lambo in my garage. I rather see my team succeed than have a really cool car. And I already have a cool car. I'm happy with my BMW.
Yeah. Super cool car. M3, right?
Yeah, E92 M3.
And you actually, I saw you posted a shop that you're going to be taking it to do some modifications. I'm curious, take me through it. How did you find that shop? Because you were in Fort Lauderdale for a few days and you found a legit looking shop.
The owner of the shop, I did his social media for like a year, and he recently hired somebody full-time in-house. And he and I have been going back and forth for like 2 years now, but he found me on YouTube. He searched something to do with like social media, and I came up, and then he called me that night and I signed him as a client, and I did all his social media, and then we stayed in touch, and then now he's going to be doing all the work on my car. So got an exhaust coming, got a roll cage, got seats, got a bunch of stuff coming for it.
No one knows the kind of opportunities that can present themselves when you're putting yourself out there. When people are finding out about your business, when they're finding out about you, you can't predict. So whether those opportunities come in 6 months or in 5 years from now or in 10 years from now, that's an example. You just don't know what's coming. So
yeah, I mean, I can give you one more example too that I think is really good. Is that roughly 5 years ago, I did a video on I did a video on how to shoot inventory photos for a car dealership, and it was a Porsche GT3 RS, and I spent 30 minutes walking around the car, and I did a voiceover, and I said, you shoot the car from the right quarter panel, you do the interior shot, you make sure the sun's to your back so you have no shadows in the car. I did a whole video on that, and it was just for fun. I was just like, well, I want to make a cool video on how I shoot photos. And I posted the video, it got maybe like 100,000 views or something, I don't remember, and I didn't think much of it. Roughly 8 months ago, I got a call from one of the biggest inventory photography companies in the USA. And they flew me out to do a full consulting to consult their team on how to do social media. So they found me through inventory photography video, which is what they did, and they hired me to consult their company on social media. So I just finished up that maybe 6 months ago. That was just for making a video for fun. And that was probably I would say one of the higher paid gigs I've had as far as consulting, from a fun video I made of taking photos of a car.
Wow, that's super impressive. And you don't, like, it doesn't even stop there. That video will live online forever. Yeah. And the opportunities hopefully will keep coming in. Mm-hmm. So Krasimir said, I had Berke Marketing run my IG and Facebook, and they did a great job. And that's Chris from Unlimited Auto Style.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I know Chris.
So that's cool. Thanks, Chris.
That's awesome. I appreciate that.
Thanks for mentioning that. That's freaking awesome.
Yeah, I remember Chris. We go back, I think it was 1.5 years we talked, and yeah, that's crazy. So that's cool too, because the community that I've built is really loyal, and it's a lot of people who have seen me for years from kind of where I started to where I'm at. And it's fun to have clients who are a part of the journey, because they kind of see the progression. It's fun to see that and share that, because I'm very open with it. And I prefer having more of like friends compared to clients.
So I'm sure they prefer that as well, because you're not going to get that anywhere else, or not nowhere else, but nowhere else that I've seen, because typically you're just getting, you're getting run through a mill when you look through a social media agency.
Yeah.
Especially at that price point, especially if you're not in the many, many, many thousands, you're just getting run through a mill. So Jessica Nichols asked, when you talk about target audience, what platform in your opinion is geared towards what ages? ?
TikTok is 13 to 18. I would say Instagram is 18 to 35. Twitter is 35 to 60. And LinkedIn is 40 to 80.
Okay, cool.
Hopefully that answers the question.
Yeah.
And then YouTube is everywhere. I mean, it can be, there's the kid making 28 million a year that does toy reviews and he's 9. Or there's people that are 70, doing car restorations.
The number 2 search place on the internet, right?
Yep.
Cool. So, yeah, we just passed the hour mark. Spencer, I'll let you get on with your evening. Thank you so much for joining. Thank you for being so generous with all the information that you provided. Jessica said thank you. So thank you from Jessica. Thank you from everybody who's watching, and thank you from me. Really appreciate you coming on and sharing. So anybody who wants to get in touch with you, Spencer, what's the best way?
The best way is just usually on Instagram or my website. If you literally just search Spencer Berke on Google, I come up. My website is ineedhelpwithsocialmedia.com or berkemarketing.com. My Instagram, my YouTube, everything on there is updated as of today. So everything you see on all my platforms are all recent. And we also do custom websites and SEO. We have a whole team of people that do that now, and we've grown into a lot more services. And then obviously we offer social media and photography. So anything along those lines, whether it's window tint or any kind of other business, we're happy to help. Cool.
So we will be back this Tuesday for the normal Tuesday Tint Wisdom, and then we'll be joined next Thursday with Chris Queen. He is out of Illinois. He's a shop owner, a very successful shop owner, and he is going to be sharing his experience. We had one more comment. Matt said, thanks. Matt Blackmer said, thanks, Spencer. Super cool interview. I run a tint channel and just been kicking back, picking up any tips I can. So Matt Blackmer actually runs a tint channel on YouTube called Tint Stuff. It has over 50,000 subscribers. I think it's the largest window film related YouTube channel out there. It's also a Facebook group. And I mean, Matt was definitely a pioneer on YouTube in the window film industry, and something that he actually just mentioned on his most recent Tint News video is that he found great success in one of his recent live streams where he just asked the audience to share his video. When the audience, he asked them to share his video, he saw his organic reach just go up tremendously. He asked at the beginning and then he asked in the middle, and you could see it. So what I'm doing is I'm asking all of you who are watching this today, help us out, help us to reach other window film business owners and, get more comments, have more people join the Tint Wisdom community by sharing this. Share it to your personal page, share it in your group, share it everywhere and anywhere. So thank you everybody for watching. Thank you once again, Spencer, and we'll see you on Tuesday.
All right. Thank you guys. See ya.